How's it going, folks? Today I'm going to show you how you can replace the transmission fluid and filter on your car, and also how you can install your new pan gasket so that you don't have any leaks. And as always, if you see any tools or products used in this video that pique your interest, I'll put links to where you can find them for cheap in the description box, so don't be afraid to click on them and check them out. Now I'm going to be showing you how to do this on this 2001 Dodge Ram 1500. That's also a 4x4 and comes with a 5.2 liter V8 engine. But of course you can use the procedures used in this video to replace the transmission fluid out of any automatic transmission. Alright, next, since we don't have a drain bolt on this pan, what I'm going to do is to remove these 5 bolts on this end and then get our catch pan underneath here and catch all the transmission fluid that's going to drip out of there. Alright, so I actually removed 7 bolts and we're still not getting transmission fluid to leak out of this. Now this could be because the transmission fluid may not be filled past the pan line, or that our gasket is doing a good job and we simply need to remove more bolts. But whatever you do, you don't want to stick a screwdriver or a pry bar between your pan and the mating surface and try to force it open, because that will bend the lip of your pan, and then when you go to reinstall this, you're going to have a leak from there. Now there's a small chance that might actually be your only option if this is stuck to the mating surface because of RTV. But actually what we're going to do next is to loosen more bolts on the side, but we're going to actually loosen the ones in the back also, but we're going to loosen these more than the ones on the back, because if you don't loosen the ones in the back, this is just gonna, if there's a lot of liquid in this, it's just gonna bend your pan this way as the fluid is forced to this side, because these bolts are getting loose. But if you loosen the ones in the back also, this is more like tilt than bend this way. All right, let's see if we can knock it loose with a rubber mallet. Alright, looks like someone might have used RTV silicone on this gasket, and this is exactly why you don't want to use RTV silicone on your gasket on the transmission side. So it looks like we're going to have to use a screwdriver to get this loose, which we're not supposed to. So you can even see our pan bending a little bit. There we go. Here we go, guys. We got it loose. Alright, so after letting this drip for 5 minutes and then cleaning our face, we're going to remove this pan, and we're going to do this by actually leaving 2 bolts on the side, so this is held in place while we remove the remainder of the bolts. Now of course when it's time to remove it, you want to be very careful because there's still a ton of fluid left in this pan. Next I'm going to remove the last remaining 2 bolts. Fucking ice cream trucks here. Yeah, ice cream. Alright, next I'm going to support this with one hand and then remove the last remaining 2 bolts. And then hopefully I can maneuver this pan into my catch pan and not onto my own face. We'll see. So far so good. Alright, made it. Yeah, it looks like they used some type of sealant, as you can see here on the transmission side, which is probably not going to be fun cleaning up. So here's a look at our pan. Here's a look at our gasket on the pan side. And this is also stuck to this pan pretty well. Here's a look at our magnet. We got this normal wear and tear. There's no big chunks in this. So next, here comes the fun part, the cleanup. Alright, next you're going to have to use a scraper or some razor blades and remove as much of the old gasket material from the pan as you can. Alright, so after removing all the big chunks, I'm going to use my angle grinder with this soft pad and remove the remaining gasket residue. If you don't have one of these, you're going to have to keep going at it with some razor blades or maybe a wire brush and some brake clean. Alright, 30 minutes later, here's what we have. We got some exposed metal that we'll address later, but as far as corrosion and rust goes, this pan is not actually that bad. Alright, next we'll clean everything up with some brake clean and these blue shop towels. By the way, these are awesome. I use them inside the house as well. It's super important the lip of this pan is completely clean and dry, especially of any old RTV or transmission fluid, so make as many passes as you need to. And next, in order to address the areas where we have some bare metal showing, we're going to spray those areas with some epoxy paint. This both works as a primer, paint, and at the same time it's heat resistant as well. I'm going to cover the inside of the pan with this piece of cardboard so we don't get too much overspray inside this thing. And we're gonna put 3 coats of this, waiting about 5 to 10 minutes between each medium coat. All right, so here's how things look after our 3rd and final coat. So next, while we're waiting for this to dry, we're gonna go over to our transmission and do some cleaning there as well. And here's a look at our transmission filter. And this is held in by 2 bolts that are gonna require a T20 torque socket to remove. And then once again, using our scraper, we're gonna have to clean this mating surface thoroughly. Alright, once again, to thoroughly clean this, I'm going to use my angle grinder. You're not supposed to, but I'm going to employ the old cardboard technique to protect the inside of the transmission. And here's a look at our transmission mating surface after thoroughly being cleaned. As you can see, it's nice, clean, and shiny. Alright, next up, our filter. Just make sure you get some transmission fluid on the seal. Once again, you run these in by hand. And again, hand tight is fine. No need to put a lot of torque on these. Alright, now we are ready to install our new gasket and our newly painted transmission pan. And I think this is where everybody's got questions about RTV or other sealants and how or if any should be used. By the way, I forgot to mention, while you're waiting for your transmission to drain, you should lay out your new gasket like this so it has time to flatten out. Alright, so if you're going to be reusing your old pan, the odds are that it's not perfectly flat and even. Therefore, I always use some RTV. Especially in a case like this, since we had no other option to bend this in order to remove it from our transmission. But the key part is that you use the right RTV silicone, an RTV silicone that's made to be used in an automatic transmission. Because additives and detergents in your automatic transmission fluid will quickly eat away at other RTV silicones. And if you have a hard time finding this at your local auto parts store, I'll put links to where you can buy this online in the description box down below. And the way I put RTV silicone is just basically put a bead down in the center, go around every bolt hole, all the way around the pan on the pan side. And then you can smear it with your finger, but you just gotta make sure you have an even amount all around the pan. So you never put it on the transmission side because you simply don't need it. See, this is a thick, flat piece of metal here, and it's not gonna bend or warp due to the heat cycles or anything else. And if you're going to be using a new high quality pan, then your problems are going to be less. But I would still use just a tiny amount of RTV around the corners. That both helps seals it around the corners, and it also holds in place our gasket. Because making sure this gasket is nice and flat on this pan when you go to install this is pretty much the most important thing when it comes to trying to avoid leaks. Also, something else you should check before you put RTV silicone on this is that these bolt holes, the metal around it, should be completely flat. Because sometimes people, when trying to stop leaks, will over torque the pan bolts and they'll bend the metal right around the bolt holes. And if you find out that's the case, you just get something flat underneath it and just gently tap it in and make it even. All right, let's get to it. All right, here comes the important part. Laying down our new gasket. And you want to make sure you lay it down nice and flat. Oh, as flat as you can. You just want to make sure you line up all the bolt holes exactly. That's the most important thing. Also, if you have a helper that can help you put this on exactly, you don't really need to spread the RTV with your finger. You can just lay it down there on just the bead itself. That might actually even be better. All right, now we're ready to put this back on. So when I put this back on, I'm gonna run the 2 bolts on the sides down just by hand. So this is held in place. And you don't want to run this down all the way that you can't move this, just in case you need to make adjustments. All right, next I'm going to torque these down to about 6 foot-pounds or 72 inch-pounds. This is the same. And again, we're going to go from the center out, crisscross manner. Alright, next I usually like to wait an hour before I torque the bolts down to factory spec. And I think the torque spec for these bolts on this car is 13 foot-pounds. And now we do our final torque down, again working from center out. Alright, next we're just going to wait another 2 or 3 hours, or better yet, let this sit overnight, and then we're going to refill with new transmission fluid. And while we're waiting, we're going to thoroughly clean the bottom of our pan as well. Why not? And next we're going to add some transmission fluid. Now according to the repair manual for this car, when you drop the pan and replace the fluid and filter, you're only replacing about 1.5 quarts of transmission fluid. So that's how much you would need to add back into this transmission. Alright, next we get in our car, start the engine, and get the car up to operating temperature. And then we run the gear selector through all the gears, waiting about 5 seconds between each gear, and we do this twice. After that, we'll check our transmission fluid level and add more transmission fluid if necessary. And then we'll check for leaks around our transmission pan, and I don't see any, so we're good there as well. And that should about wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, here are some other videos that you might find interesting. I'll put links to them on the side that you can click on. There'll also be links in the description box down below as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.